Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Reese's Random Reviews. I am Reese, I'm about to give you a random review. And this is a random countdown. Not a random review, but pretty much a random countdown. And I've wanted to do this countdown for a very long time. It's my top 10 best Family Guy episodes. Oh yeah, I am a huge Family Guy fan. I've literally got every episode on DVD. Well, all 15 seasons, because obviously that's how much we've released in the UK. So, what I've done is I've gone through all my box sets, not binge watch them of course, but just gone through the episode list, and I finally found my top 10 best Family Guy episodes, and I thought it would be fun to share them. Okay, so let's hope your episodes have made it on the list. So, let's get down to it. Lois comes out of her shell. In this episode, Peter really harshly insults Lois on her birthday, and when she takes this to heart, she has a midlife crisis and starts to act like a crazed 20-year-old by drinking, partying, crashing cars, and even falling in love with Justin Bieber. Ugh. But luckily, Peter Griffin realises what he's done and he decides to save Lois and beats up Justin Bieber. That's one of the reasons why I love this episode, because Justin Bieber gets his comeuppance. But not just that as well. Stewie actually finds a turtle named Sheldon, and this turtle is not as cute or innocent as it looks. In fact, it's actually like a deranged serial killer. It will go around and try and kill Stewie. And then there's this epic battle between Stewie and Sheldon at the end, and it's just downright awesome. I love this episode because the whole subplot with Sheldon, and it mixes with Lois's breakdown. This episode has just got two great subplots. It's just greatly written, it's very funny, it's very epic, and it's also very dark as well. I love a bit of darkness into this. I mean, that's what I love about Family Guy. It's a black comedy, so this is why I love it. This is definitely my favourite black comedy episode, but at the same time, it hits into my top 10. Now let's get down to number 9. Love Black Chili. In this episode, Brian falls in love with a woman he has a lot in common with, but when he doesn't decide to have sex with her straight away, she decides to go out with Cleveland, and then there's this love rivalry between Brian and Cleveland. And that's what I like about this episode. There's a rivalry between Cleveland and Brian, which is never really seen. Plus, Cleveland's attitude is really harsh in this episode, which I kind of like, which shows that he's actually a bit of a dick. When really, when you see him in some episodes, he's just this quiet character that goes, ha 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 ha. That was just a little impression I just did there. But the competition between Cleveland and Brian is very fresh. The episode is wonderfully written, the heartbreak is quite funny, all the jokes make me laugh, like the Swedish Pie Bakery, the Horton Hears a Who joke. The episode starts off really well as Brian dressed up as Snoopy. Yeah, I mean, this episode would be in my top 10, I mean, why not? It's just a really funny episode, and it's just really great, really written. So yeah, this definitely hits into one of my top 10. Okay, let's get down to number 8. Halloween on Spooner Street. This is one of my favourite episodes for a reason. It's Brian and Stewie on another adventure. Well, when I say kind of another adventure, I mean another great subplot. What happens is Stewie decides to experience his first Halloween by going trick-or-treating. Brian takes him on the streets, but then Stewie sadly gets his candy taken by some bullies. So Brian and Stewie go out to get revenge. And also there's this great subplot which is hilarious, where Peter and Joe literally prank Quagmire through the whole Halloween episode. And poor Quagmire is getting tortured by these guys, but luckily he gets his revenge by driving into a plane and also threatening to crash into the ocean, which of course makes him, terrified. It's a great episode for many great reasons. Again, two great subplots that work so well together. Stewie and Brian again have this wonderful great adventure that you just can't help but watch. The jokes are funny, like the Pink Panther joke is hilarious. The joke about advertising candy when you're not supposed to say the real names. It's just a really funny episode. It's, again, another wonderfully written episode. So I wonder why this episode was nominated for an Emmy, because it was such a fantastically written and performed episode. Plus, as well, I love the animation style in this episode as well. Like, because it's just set at night time, the animation in this episode is actually quite colourful. Stewie's Halloween costume, Brian being pink. The characters are quite more colourful as well. It's just got a nice colourful atmosphere to it, despite being a Halloween episode. Plus, it's just wonderfully done. Okay, let's move on to number 7. Yug Yailameth, or Yuggalemia Yuggala. It's Family Guy written backwards. And if you probably haven't guessed, this is the episode where Stewie and Brian reverse time. This is actually the episode's 200th episode. Like, this is the whole season's 200th episode. And it's a brilliantly written episode, because throughout some episodes of season 11 or season 12, is it season 12? No, season 11, sorry. It's season 13. Sorry, I've got that wrong. It's season 13. While there are some hiccups in season 13, like not the best episodes ever made, Stewie and Brian's adventure in this one is actually just a wonderfully written episode, and I can see why the writers had to save the best one for the special occasion, and this is definitely one of season 13's best episodes. When Brian and Stewie reverse time, the whole jokes are just absolutely hilarious, like with everything going backwards. Plus, there's that little serious moment where poor Stewie might be going back to being born, which means that he'll disappear forever as everything's all reversed. And it's just really, at the same time, it's a little bit scary because obviously of the whole, Stewie could go back into being born situation, which means he'll be vanishing forever. And then, of course, there's that moment where, the whole comedy thing with the whole reverse time just works in. It's a great episode. Brian and Stewie again do a great job with their chemistry. The episode is wonderfully written, and the jokes again just work in this one. So it's a very creative episode as well. Just the whole backwards thing is just so creative. Okay, let's move on to number 6. Back to the pilot. Yep, another Brian and Stewie episode, but this episode is again another creative one. Stewie and Brian actually travel back to the first episode of Family Guy and see themselves. And it's just wonderfully done. The whole, looking back on how the show's done from there to now, the way the characters look now and how they used to be, and the whole change the history situation, and plus going back to the whole animation style from back then to now. It's just brilliantly well done. Such a creative episode. Back to the pilot definitely hits into my top 10. Right, let's go to number 5. North by North Quahog. A great written episode because of its plot. Peter and Lois go on like a honeymoon to have a better sex life because obviously their performance in bed isn't going so well. But when they do, they end up in Mel Gibson's room and find out that he's working on a sequel called, The Passion of Christ 2? Or something like that, starring Chris Tucker. It's like a Rush Hour spoof. It is a hilarious episode, and it's wonderfully written. And this was like the big comeback for Family Guy after they got cancelled. So this episode just works. Plus, it was actually written by Seth MacFarlane himself, and he wrote it exceedingly well. Now let's go on to number 4. Hannah Banana. This is definitely one of my favourite episodes, because again, it's gratefully written. The characters, the chemistry in these characters are really good because we finally find out who the evil monkey is and he bonds with Chris. And then there's this whole dispute between Chris and Peter, how their father and son relationship isn't working. And then there's this little tender moment at the end where they start to bond. And then, of course, we've got this epic King Kong thing where Hannah Montana's actually a robot, which I thought was brilliant because I'm not a fan of Hannah Montana, so they took the piss out of it, so I'm happy with that. And then, of course, Brian and Stewie again have another hilarious plot with Hannah Montana. It just has everything that I love in a Family Guy episode. It just works. Number 3, Brian in Love. This episode I love, and it's way high because I actually relate to this episode because Brian falls in love with Lois. Well, he thinks he knows he's in love with Lois. And then he talks to Lois about it. And then Lois says that the best love they have is their friendship. Now, the reason I relate to this episode is because 4 years ago, about 4 or 5 years ago, 4 years ago, I actually confessed to a old friend, someone who I used to be very close with, that I was actually in love with her. But unfortunately, she said she didn't feel the same way as I did, and she only saw me as like a brother, and she sadly didn't want to be with me. So it was, and watching this episode with Brian in Love, I kind of relate to that. I kind of relate to the whole, I know what it's like to fall in love with someone who you're close with, and it's hard, but once you know, then you can move on. And sadly, I haven't spoken to that person for a very long time. She's got her own life now. And I have my own life as well. And don't feel sorry for me because I'm very happy with my girlfriend who I'm with now. And I've got wonderful friends who are still around. And my life's fantastic. So there's no worries whatsoever. I'm very happy. And I'm totally over. I mean, it's been years ago, so, you know. But I just wanted to throw that in to say that's why I relate to the whole Brian in Love story. And every time I watch that episode, it just reminds me of the past, as I just mentioned. So, okay, so that's why that is in number 3. Right, number 2 is Road to Rhode Island. I love this episode because this starts off Brian and Stewie's adventure. It's a great debut for them both. And again, the chemistry between Stewie and Brian, it just works. The episode is wonderfully written, wonderfully animated, wonderfully done. The music in this is beautiful. And the song, you know, On the Road to Rhode Island, it's such a great, catchy, beautiful, fun, hilarious song. And Seth MacFarlane singing in it is just fantastic. This is a fantastic episode. This definitely deserves the best praise. Road to Rhode Island is a classic as number 2, and it's a classic Family Guy episode. Okay, so here's the big one. What's my number 1 episode? Here it is. Brian and Stewie. No, seriously, that's what the episode is called, Brian and Stewie. Their 150th episode on season 10 on my DVD. Stewie and Brian get locked up in a bank. Like, through the whole episode, it's just literally Stewie and Brian in a bank for the whole half an hour, bonding, arguing, fighting, saying how much they love each other, saying how much they hate each other, getting drunk. And then, of course, there's that moment where Brian eats Stewie's puke and poo. Yeah, I know, that is just disgusting. But still, it's a great episode because the chemistry between Brian and Stewie is incredible in this one. And it's my favourite because of that. And also as well, I love it because, again, I can sort of relate to it because it's about friendship. And there are moments where I am with my friends and I say to them, look, you know, I can't imagine my life without my friends, and they sometimes say the same to me, and it's lovely. And it's nice because it just shows that friendship is very important in life and you need to hold on to your friends. And again, also, Brian and Stu are just hilarious as always together. So there you go, guys. Those are my top 10 favourite episodes. But now I'm going to ask you, what is your favourite Family Guy episode? Please tell me, comment and subscribe below and let me know. Because I definitely want to hear what is your favourite Family Guy episode. And I'm glad that hopefully you've watched all this and hopefully your favourite episode was on the list. And if it wasn't, then I'm sorry. But there you go, I've finally done my countdown. And I am Reese, and I've just finally given you a random review / countdown.